Want to have a conversation about the number one lie that we continue to tell ourselves. All right, y'all. So happy Monday, Mindset Monday. Happy Veterans Day. And today, I'd like to have a conversation about liars and lying. And more importantly, want to have a conversation about the number one lie that we continue to tell ourselves. If you had to guess, what's the number one lie that we keep telling ourselves? What do you think it is? What's the number one lie?
I don't have time.
Okay, like that.
I'm too busy.
Okay, good, interesting. That's similar to a time thing. Everyone's like,
I'm
I don't want
doing.
to say it. I don't want to say it out loud. I don't want to. I don't want to tip my hat.
How about I'm doing enough?
That I am doing enough, or I'm not doing enough.
I am doing enough.
Ah, interesting. Okay. Nothing else. Everyone's just gonna sit and like just hope that like this conversation's for them.
If I
heard
had
people,
this, I could do this.
What's that?
Like, if I had this, I could do this or that.
If I had this, I could do this, right? So if I had better relationships or more resources or something else, something
Or I can't do this
because something's missing.
yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So, I was listening to Mel Robbins this morning, and she's one of my faves. She's a good friend of mine. Again, she doesn't know it, but she is. And today's conversation was quite a long conversation. She was talking about like the three biggest lies that we tell ourselves, and I just couldn't get past the one just because there was so much to it, and I really sat with it for a little while, and it really resonated with me, and it gave me a lot to consider and ponder. And when we look at it, like I was like, oh shoot, I want to share this because this is something that I struggle with often as well. And so the number one lie or the biggest lie that we tell ourselves, according to my friend Mel Robbins, is I'm not worthy, I don't deserve it, and I'm failing, right? Like I'm behind. I'm not worthy, I don't deserve it, and I'm failing. And what's interesting is we believe what we talk about most. And how many times, you put yourself out there, you attempt to do something, and then just the conversation, that inner dialogue just starts flying. Why am I attempting this anyway? I'm not good enough. I don't deserve it. So many people are already so far ahead of me. And you ask, and then here's what I say. You start saying to yourself, you start looking around at people that like, look at everybody who's already done more at my age. I'll never catch up. I'm so far behind. And all of a sudden the comparison starts coming in, and all of a sudden all the negative thoughts and the thinking. And then like on the other end of it, like if you just continue to let it go, what's the end result? How many of you have ever had this feeling? Or again, is it me? Because I know that we only shared 3 out of the 12 of us this morning so far. So I guess there are no other fears or thoughts or feelings around it. But it's, yeah, right. So like we've all heard comparison is the thief of joy. And I mean, there's even a book all about it called The Gap and the Gain. And as producers, as entrepreneurs, as individuals that are taking our livelihood and our lives into our own hands, we can't help but sometimes look around and go, kind of like what Cynthia said, am I doing enough? Or if I had more, I could do more. Or if I grew up here or with this family or these relationships or this background, or if I actually grew up here and all the people that I know were still around me, I could be doing more, better, etc. And the thing is that social media is one of the biggest culprits that continue to perpetuate this lie that we tell ourselves. And the lie that we continue to tell ourselves is, I'm not good enough. I'm failing. Because how many examples are there of other people doing more, better, different, etc.? And Mel was talking about, like, we have to cut these lies off at their core, and we have to cut them off at the beginning. And there's a couple reasons why. Number one is, the truth is, none of us are ever failing, because everything that you're everything that's going on in your life right now is just simply preparation for and getting you ready for the opportunity to achieve and deserve what you got, right? Or what's coming. And she said, and this is really interesting, it's very similar to what Jamie Kern Lima talks about in her book Worthy, and around reframing and restructuring our definition of failure, or our definition of comparison. And she said, this next section here is really, really good. And she said, the reality is comparison's false. And so why? And she said, because you're not actually playing against anyone. We're all playing with each other. We're all on our own separate journeys, and none of us is against any one of us. And so therefore, success and abundance happens to also be in limitless supply. Because when I win, you don't lose. And when you win, I don't lose. And someone's win isn't proof that you're failing if we choose to see their win as simply a path that we can follow. It's a way for you to get there too. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, are you willing to begin stacking the stones to build the wall? Because your opportunity is still going to happen one brick at a time, one day at a time, one sentence at a time, one call at a time, one open house at a time, one email at a time, one text at a time. And for whatever reason, we put this expectation in our mind that it's going to happen sooner than it happens. And if it doesn't happen according to our timeline, we must be fill in the blank. Wrong, bad, not good at this, failures, etc. Right? What if you're not failing, you're just simply still on the journey? What if you're on the way? Right? It reminds me of a conversation that Kobe Bryant had with I might be getting him confused with The Last Dance in the conversation with Jordan. He said, don't lock in failure with quitting. Right? If you haven't quit, you haven't failed. Like, you're still on the journey. If you haven't hit the goal, well, then don't lock it in with quitting. So I wanted to share this part of the conversation to open up the idea of the lies that we tell ourselves and how we can turn it around and look at comparison is a trap that we all fall in. I fall into this one a lot. I look around and I ask myself, well, why am I not where I feel like I should be? I've done this, I deserve this, or I've have I not paid enough toll yet? Like, at what point? Like, there's constantly that measuring up around where you could or should be, and it's really easy to get down. And so here's another tool of, like, okay, well, who am I actually up against? And if in the reality is it's no one, and the opportunity is to just measure myself and identify the path, well, then what's the number one thing that I could do? What's the number one thing you can do the moment you see somebody else who's achieving or succeeding, and you begin to have that immediate feeling of almost jealousy? But sometimes it's not like, I wouldn't say it's like jealousy or envy, but it's like, shoot, why am I not there yet? And not like, oh, it must be nice, but it's like, dang it. Right? Like, For me, that mindset shift today was just like, okay, the moment I feel that ping of lack of comparison, I got to just lean in and ask, hey, how'd you get here? What did you do different? How did you set it up? Where did you stop along the way? Like what slowed you down? Or what did you have to overcome? Or what's the thing that other people aren't seeing that you struggle with? Because you make it look really easy. How did you get here? How long have you been working on this? How did you collapse the learning curve? How do you get here faster? If you had to do it again, what would you not do? Right? Like so immediately my mind starts going into R&D. Immediately my mind starts going into the student. Immediately my mind starts going to a scientist. I'm like, okay, let me scrap my plan. Because obviously, like, just because I'm doing it the best I can doesn't mean I'm doing it the best it can be done. And the moment I see somebody else that's succeeding or achieving in an area that I desire, I got to go, hey, what am I missing? How do I do this better? How do I do it faster? How do I do it easier? How do I do it more intelligently? How do I do it with less resistance? What part of my comfort is getting in the way of my opportunity? What part of my ego is getting in the way of my success? What am I not doing or what am I not willing to do that this person's doing not effortlessly but like purposefully? And that's the list of questions that instead of, well, it must be nice. Uh, you know, if my parents were this, or if I had seed money, or, well, that lender buys them all the leads, or whatever, fill in the gap. Let's open up the conversation here. How many of you catch yourself in the comparison trap? How many of you catch yourself in the pity poopy party? Yeah.
Yeah.
What were some of the times that happened for you? And now with this conversation, how do you plan on attacking it in the future? How do you use this conversation to get you fired up to get after it? Because I catch myself when I get in the pity party, I catch myself into like coping. And the thing is like, where do you go for comfort? And is it helpful or hurtful? Is it uplifting or is it destructive? How do you cope?
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay. So what I do is I go down the pity party path of I wish I would have done that when I was 21. I wish I would have done that so I could have given my kids a better life and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I can go down and into the crybaby zone real quick. And then I suck it up and I call Audra and I tell her, and she's like, Mom, you can't do that. You are where you are right now, and everything will be fine. You know what you need to do. But some days it's harder than others to suck it up and get out of that mindset. It's a constant because I wanted to give my kids all the things. I just had to do it a little bit later in life. So there you go.
But Mom, you gave us all the best things. You loved us. We knew that you were always there for us. You took care of us. You comforted us. You helped me learn how to be a great mom. You gave us all the best things.
See why I call my daughter?
She's kind of good at that.
I love you.
Oh, come on now. Happy Monday.
You're gonna make me cry.
I'm already crying, so let's cry together.
No, so again, what else? Let's lean into this, right? When's the last time you caught yourself and you let comparison kind of stop you and you called it for the day? You said, I'm just out. My mindset's trash. I'm jacked. I'm just gonna do X, Y, and Z, as opposed to like how powerful is it to get excited about somebody else's success and win and then lean into it, celebrate it, and then ask the questions.
I think one of the things for me, I really love the group of people that I'm with, and they're doing great things, and I feel so happy for what they're doing. And sometimes I don't feel like um, I don't really ever compare myself to others, but I am guilty of like, okay, I should have done more by now. I feel like, you know, I should be doing more, and I'm. It's like I'm never satisfied with what I'm doing, what I've accomplished, and it's not compared to anybody else. So what I have to go back to is like, okay, where am I actually at, and what have I actually done? And then I'm like, okay, well maybe I have done a lot, but sometimes there's just like, no, like I should be further. I should be doing more. And so I'm always going. Like for the people that know me, like I wake up early in the morning, I stop at the end of the day. And sometimes you have to find that fulfillment or that joy in like, look at everything you've already done. And that's hard sometimes, especially, I mean, not that people need to tell you, wow, look at what you've done, or but you actually have to see either what your goals are and go back and say like, I've already accomplished all these things. And I think that we're always going to want to do more, but seeing what you've already achieved and be content. So if you do want more, like what does it take to get to the next level? What does it take to grow, or how can I make this better? But it's like finding the joy of things now.
Yeah. Yeah. I, I can share, thanks for sharing that. And it brings another thing to mind for me, right? Because I feel the same way. Like I kind of, if I do get down on myself or hard on myself, it's usually that like I should be or could be doing more. And everyone's like, "Oh, well, give yourself a break." Well, the challenge is that only we know personally all the times that we kind of cut it short and take it easy. And then that subconscious accumulation of taking it easy builds up and creates that, for me, it's that level of like almost a little bit of guilt. Like, well, you would be further ahead if you didn't always cut it early, or if you didn't, decide to call it at 4 o'clock or whatever that is. Like you could have made five more calls, or you could have actually reached out or done six more texts, or you could have this, but you chose, like for me, the dangers that I fall into is buying into the celebration or the well-meaning accolades of others when they say, "Hey, great job, you're killing it, you're crushing it." For me, the worst thing I can do is believe my own press clippings. Right? Like I almost have to ignore both the positive and the negative and know like and just I have to set for myself like personal benchmarks of like I don't know if like even one of my coaching clients puts together like a point system for themselves every day, and they have a certain amount of activities, and each activity has a different level of points, and the more uncomfortable the activity is, the higher point value he gives himself. And so he just knows that every day if he hits 50 points every day, then he's earned the right to chill for the rest of the day. And like a text is like half a point, but a phone call is 5 points. Like a conversation is 5 points. A text is like half a point. So he's weighted it in a certain way that he knows that if he just hits 50 points, then he's set, then he's good for the day. And I'm like, I like that, right? Because at the end, because after the fact, like when you're feeling a certain kind of way, if you've already known and you set up that your point system is like, well, 50 points equals a win for the day. And if I just string enough wins throughout the day, like if I have more wins during the week than I have losses, then you win the week. And if you have more than a majority of the weeks of the month that are wins, then you're going to definitely win the month. right? And so it's that, but it happens all day. It's small choices throughout the day, not just a couple days a month where you're motivated, inspired, or you go to an in-person event and get all fired up, and then you have two good days in a row, and then you're back by yourself going, why is everybody else so far ahead of me? Why does everyone else make this look so easy? This must not be for me. What else? We got 6 minutes here. Other thoughts around this part of the conversation?
I think for me, kind of and this last year has been pretty good. But it's also about putting the right people in place that, have hit your goals,
Mm-hmm.
or, can push you there because, I mean, there's lots of people that, are at a place where you would like to be, but they're not willing to, share what they did to get there. And to me, that kind of, I don't know, it kind of taints it a little bit, because it's like you almost want to be jealous, right, of what they've done, but it's like also the person that they are sucks, right? If they're not willing to, help other people or, contribute in some way, right? And so for me, um, like I said, this year has been a lot of putting those people in place where, if I am having issues, or at least I know that the people that I am looking up to or the list that I'm building, um, they're the right people. And I'm gonna have the correct guidance and real guidance. So that's currently where I'm at.
Right on.
I think you made a really good point. It definitely, who you surround yourself with really does make a difference. Because you can have all the just cheerleaders who it's always, oh, yeah, 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 good job. And you feel like you said, like, oh, everything's great. But then you also need the people that are going to challenge you, challenge the way you're thinking, like, yes, you are doing great. You can also do this, or have you thought about doing it like this, or having those conversations to push you a little bit more.
Um, Earlier this morning, I was watching a reel with Cody Sanchez, and she was talking about that winners don't whine. Winners don't whine. And she shared a conversation that she was having with one of her mentors. And early on in her career, she was, 20 something, recent college grad working at this hedge fund called State Street. And she just absolutely hated her job. She said it was just sucking her soul, like out of her body. And she shared that with her one mentor. And she said that conversation changed everything for her because the moment she said that, and he said, well, the moment you decide to stop being a victim is when your life's going to change. If you hate it, leave. Winners don't whine. Fix your shit. If you don't like your situation, change. Move. But don't complain about it because there's thousands and thousands of people that will gladly take your spot. Don't complain. Fix it or leave. But don't be a victim complaining about how bad you have it at this hedge fund, right? So winners don't whine. You hate it? Move. You're not a tree. I was like, okay. And that's what a true friend is supposed to do for you. That's what a true friend will do for you. Bring you context, get you centered, smack you around a little bit, and say, hey, stop being a little baby. I was going to say something else, but this is a family show. And that woke me up, right? Like, again, it goes back to, you know, 6 months ago, a year ago, you prayed for the problems you have now. And now we want to like whine and complain, like, oh, I'm too busy. I got blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Good for you. There's a bunch of people that would love to be too busy or whatever, right? And count yourself super blessed if you're still in the game this year because 39% of the market's disappearing. In the next 60 days, the NAR already said that enrollment's going to go down 32%. A third of the agents are going to leave the industry this year. If you're still in it, you're already killing it. Keep going. You didn't come this far to only come this far. Now go crush. Lean in. Lean into the success of others. Use other people's success as like fuel. Get fired up. Understand that their success is just simply they're blazing a path for you, right? Just get into the draft. Get in behind, tuck in behind them and let their success pull you forward. It's not a zero-sum game. There's so much abundance, there's so much opportunity. Go get yours. Go get yours, man.